William Pierce. It turns out that this is a lot harder for me than this. Or this. Or this. Or even this. These are all ways to negotiate through G to D. Now, the first way is how you might do it if you're a solo musician playing by yourself. But I always wanted to be in a band and play with a bass player and drummer, so I end up with the freedom to do parts that actually connect to each other easily. It's not so easy if you're just connecting two different chords that have nothing in common, and you need them to be connected back to back so that the sustain from one chord goes all the way to the downbeat of the next chord. That's the hard way. The easy way is somehow more creative sometimes because you can build in all this connective tissue. We're going to talk about doing both. We're going to talk about the value of doing both. And indeed, to be a good guitar player, you need to be able to do both. Click the link below if you want to check out the Masterclass. We're up to over 1,000 videos and over 100 hours of lessons and content. I'm pinching these notes. The bottom and top note of each chord at the same time on the downbeat. So there's no wiggle room. So this simple thing is quite hard to do. You hear little artifacts in between the chords. So what I'm talking about is shrinking the gaps between the two chords, extending the sustain from the first chord as long as possible, moving as quickly as possible to the new chord, and accurately striking the downbeat. You can leave a little gap, but the idea with this is to try and shrink it This is one exercise I would recommend. If you pinch with these fingers the top and bottom notes of each chord, let them land on the downbeat, and try and extend the sustain all the way to the edge of the new chord, you'll make yourself a better guitar player. Try it with every chord you can think of. Now, if we talk about this in terms of a batting average, you can get into the nines. I always felt that James Taylor was a master at this particular thing. And I want to show you a clip from one of his official lessons on YouTube where he gets everything just right, but there's one chord he doesn't quite get. It doesn't matter to his audience. It doesn't matter to him. If it was a record going down, he could go back and fix it. But his batting average is in the high nines. Now, I'm using the word pinched when I describe this, but it's really it's finger picking. It's two fingers doing the same thing at the same time. So when you do this exercise, just fill it internally with a finger picking pattern that you enjoy. And what happened to me there is typical of my issues when I do this. What you want to try and do is make everything even and accurate. And a lot of times when I hit that second chord, I either hit it too soft or too loud, or I miss it altogether. Like that. I did not plan on that, but that happens to me a lot. So this is a good exercise for me. Now, if you're near the beginning, a good strategy is to visualize the next chord in advance. Just picture it in your mind. If you're beyond that, then my best advice on this is to not press down too hard. If you want to move all these fingers at the same time to a new position, the lighter you do it, the lighter you touch down, the better it's going to sound, the easier it's going to be. I consciously lightened up my left hand pressure, and it seemed to happen easier. Now, if you are strumming, a good mind habit is to simply make sure that you don't change the chord until the moment of your strum. I'll show you. Just coordinate both hands so that it happens at exactly the same time. And that way you'll get the most sustain and the best connection between the two chords. Now let's have some fun. I've never been a solo instrumentalist. I'm an ensemble player, and that means I don't have to cover everything with my two hands. There's a bass player who can cover the bass part. There's a drummer who can cover the drum part. Maybe there's another guitar. There's always other guitar parts when I'm making a piece of music and I'm writing something. Now, how about an arpeggio? First of all, I'm playing the top part of the G. And then creatively, I'm still planted here, so everything rings. So I'm playing a part that I like, that is creative and maybe helps the song, and I'm not worrying about connecting chords, because within the part, there are connections that happen automatically with shared fingers and open strings. Now, an ensemble player is simply someone who plays in a band. All my favorite guitarists, all the people that I've idolized the most and enjoyed the most in my life have been guitarists who are in bands, from Jimmy Page to Jimi Hendrix, to The Edge, to John Mayer. All of these people create parts that weave in and out and actually create connections in the DNA of the parts that are smooth and sometimes brilliant. So they're not really worrying about switching chords because they're finding ways to build the connections into their parts. So here's a perfect example of a part where the position shifts take care of themselves. We have a drone traveling through, then we have one string playing here, and then an arpeggio down here when your hand is already planted. Let me go through this slow. So when it goes to the F, I switch it to D minor. That's kind of what happened. And then to the C, I walk down from C down to G, and then back to D. So very easy on the hands, and also kind of a melodic weaving part. So let's look at this. This is a G chord here. Here's a D chord. And then we drop down to F and then C. I'm not covering the whole chord, and that's what's helping me make this easy and connected. So I hammer on. And then while this chord is formed, I simply slide the index finger over one string, and that makes my connection. And then I can ring out that note while I'm making the reconnection and sliding it back over here. So I'm using one finger to cover another. And it's kind of the same thing here. I can leave that there, and this guy is traveling down. And then that's a bit of a stretch right there. There's a little gap, but you don't hear much of it because it's trading out one finger here for this finger here. Now, here's a way to make this very difficult, and here's how I wouldn't do it. If I did this, if I formed the whole chord, then it becomes a lot harder. So this is a choice that is really good to make on the guitar sometimes, is to do the more natural thing that connects the two chords. Because watch this, if I insist on keeping the chord formation, it gets harder. It gets really hard, as a matter of fact. So simply by giving up and adding the little finger later, it becomes natural and easy. Here are a couple of variations on a rhythm part. I'll do the easy way first and then the hard way second. And the hard way is harder because the chord changes are right up next to each other. I'll show you. So the first way, the easy way, has a solution. You've got that chaka before each chord change. Your hand has plenty of time to move to the next chord. Now watch when I don't allow myself that and I have to do it right at the edge. Now, this is still easier than doing big chords down here because I'm only on 4 strings and I'm up high on the neck. So those solutions help you if you're going to the edge with chords. If you play smaller inversions, you're higher on the neck, then it's easier, just simply easier to move your hand and to connect the different chords in different positions. So for a challenge, let's use the big chords and do them down here and connect everything right to the edges. So you can hear I'm struggling to get this. What helps sometimes is sliding in. There's just kind of a hand slide that went in. That helps a little bit. Slides are really helpful on smaller string sets. So the position shift is actually part of the part. It's an artistic choice. Even elongate it like that. Let's try these chords again. That was better. My hands were warmed up and I tried a little lighter touch. So the drums will help disguise some of that. Could do that, but that's a pretty far one. So if doing something the hardest way is what you need for the music to sound the way you want it to sound, then go for it. But I've found that when you're working with a bass player and a drummer, or if you're playing with one other guitar part, if you're not playing by yourself, sometimes the easiest way to play something actually sounds the best musically. And so I would say evaluate everything you're doing and don't get attached to doing it the hard way if the easy way actually sounds better. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. If you are a subscriber, please ring the bell. It lets us let you know every time a new video is released. You can also support us by clicking the link below for the online masterclass. As I always say, we're up to over 100 hours of lessons and content, over 1,000 videos, and we add more every month. There's a 14-day free trial. Take your time, take a long look. We'd love to have you join us.